Welcome to the Drive to Draw podcast. Joining me in the studio here is Phil Fechner. Mate, we're back for another week. We've survived. Last week we had a week off, obviously with Australia Day, the long weekend where there wasn't as much bowls played.
No,
we thought
right.
we'd just hold over a few of the results. And thank you to some of the feedback on my camera. It was a little bit low last week. I think the chair I was sitting in might have been a bit higher
Pete
than
thought
usual.
he didn't want to show that you were bald or something. That's what he was saying.
He did remind me of that as well. Mate, it's been a huge week. It was remiss of me a couple of weeks ago, mate. You had a huge win.
Did I? I can't even remember.
Mate, 30 to 9.
Oh, I did, yeah. I can't remember. Who was it against? I can't even remember now.
Mate,
Yeah.
you got Alzheimer's
There
already.
you go. I have.
Mate, how did you go this
Today,
today? Yeah.
Today was, you got up by 5. I must admit I didn't have one of my best days, so a couple good conversions, but on a par I was a little bit disappointed the way I personally went, but the rink got up and the team got up. We played third placed Rosewater.
Yep.
And we beat them by about 24.
Yes.
So it was a good win. So it holds us in there for finals. So there
That
we
was
go.
going to be my next question, mate.
Yeah.
Coming up a little bit later on, we did have the mayor of Nuri. It was a slightly longer interview, so we're going to probably whiz through what we've got here tonight. All right, mate, let's get the Around the Greens happening.
Around the Greens.
All right, mate, let's fire away. Let's start with Premier League. Once again, it was a little bit of an odd week.
Funny old week again, Pete.
Yeah.
Round 12. Adelaide played Holdfast, and you probably would have tipped Adelaide to win. We didn't do our tips because we had a week off, didn't we?
We did,
Yeah.
but obviously that was the shot that the game that was live streamed, obviously on the Friday night there.
That's right.
As we've said over the next few weeks, look out on the live streams. I think Lockleys are playing Somerton, or Somerton are playing Lockleys down at Somerton this Friday night, and I reckon the week after might be Modbury v Salisbury out at Salisbury. And I did speak to Tomo a couple of weeks ago, and we might try and mic him up for some sounds of the game. So we'll see how we go there, mate. Adelaide getting over Holdfast there. Yep.
Yeah, Adelaide 79, Holdfast 67. Scotty Thorburn having a night out against Liam Coe 30-6. Big win there. Salisbury is ever competitive, as we've said all along. 73 versus Somerton 85. Mitch Walker getting a touch up from Jeff Ayworth 30-8.
Yep.
Lockleys 2 in a row.
Two in a row, mate. Obviously, they are throwing caution to the wind and have nothing to lose for the back end of the season.
That's right.
And it's played dividends.
Lockleys 76. West Lakes, the team you thought might sneak in. Can't see them sneaking in now, Pete. They've got Adelaide this week, so can't see them getting in now. But Lockleys 76, Westlake 75, Peter Thalia 19 to Josh Choppin 11. The game that you were involved in here, Pete, I'll run through it quickly for you.
Do not open old wounds. No, Tomo had an absolute day out.
You were just saying off the mic.
And he's sort of back to his brilliant best at the moment.
Modbury 70, Ascot 68, which I would have tipped Ascot to win that one. Gary Meekham's copping a hiding from my old mate Mitch Percy, 23.
And they were holding 4 on the last end, and they punched a bowl up to just cut the number back, and that's where the game was won and lost, really, on that rink.
So a good win there for Modbury. Hawthorn 87 to Grange, who have just gone off the pace a little bit, 63. Michael Lodge 31 over Mark Evans 10, so that was the biggest winning rink there.
A few players out for Grange, obviously last week, but or the week before, sorry. But at the same time, I think now it's probably a good time to say that the ladder's not going to change. We'll come to it in a little while. But let's have a look at this week's matches, mate.
This week's matches, Pete, is Somerton versus Lockleys.
Round 13.
Round 13
Somerton for me.
Somerton for me.
I reckon the live stream rink will probably be Nathan Pedersen and Ash Halls.
Oh, okay.
Look, I'm just throwing it up there.
Yep. West Lakes versus Adelaide.
Well, I've got this as my sort of game of the round because I think it's an important win for both teams.
Yes, and your tip is?
Adelaide.
Adelaide for me. Grange versus Modbury at Grange.
Grange for me.
Modbury for me. Holdfast versus Hawthorn.
Hawthorn for me.
Hawthorn for me. And the last game is Ascot versus Salisbury at Ascot.
Ascot for me.
And Ascot for me.
As we mentioned, Somerton playing Lockleys Friday night. Jump on the live streams if you want to watch some bowls on a Friday night. I know a couple of the clubs have spoken to me over the last couple of weeks saying, we had it up on our big screen, we had our meals going, and they were able to watch some bowls, some local bowls. I think that's probably the best part about it. All right, mate, let's whiz on to Division 1.
Okay, quickly, ladder.
Oh, ladder, yeah, we better do that.
Somerton 11-1, Ascot 8-4, Adelaide 8-4, who we said were going to come up.
Yep.
And Hawthorn 7-5, and I don't think it'll change, Pete. There's still plenty of time for it to change.
Yes.
And it could change this week with Grange beating Modbury and perhaps Hawthorn maybe losing to Holdfast, but who knows? I don't think it'll change, to be honest.
I'm sort of converted now that I think that this probably will be the top 4.
Yep.
As to the final standings, you'd have to say Somerton, obviously, with the points difference, would probably take out 1. But 2, 3 and 4, it's sort of up for grabs a little bit, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, very close.
Absolutely. Points
okay, we want to go into Div 1?
Yeah, mate, let's do Div 1.
Round 12. Tranmere, 85 to Woodville, 72. Roger Carl, 32 to Vince Damasi, 14. Port Noarlunga's having a very good year, 86 at Port Noarlunga.
Yes.
Over Paynham, 65, a year they probably want to forget.
It's a pretty long trip down to Port Noarlunga there.
Yeah. Anthony Moffat, 24 over Alan Hurst, 10.
And good to see Aussie back as well.
Aussie's back, yep. And Johnny Radloff's on the comeback too. He's in the lower divisions at the moment, just over knee replacement.
Yes.
So. Next game, Somerton 83, Henley 73, which was a pretty good game.
Absolutely.
Nev Weckett 10, Jeff Marsh. Oh, Marshy 31, so good win for Marshy. Millswood really pushed Marion.
Hey, I said if it got within 10 shots, I'd be really, really impressed.
Yep, Millswood 69, Marion 75. Brad Holt 12, Kenny Hotham 21 was the biggest winning rink there.
Yep.
No, a good game here by Toorak, struggling down the bottom at the moment without a win. 79, Toorak. Modbury 88. Feasty again's on the end of a Jose Gill 27, 17-27. So big win to Jose.
Jose's just getting his mojo back.
Good bowler playing down this year. Decided to play in the second side.
Playing against Modbury a couple of weeks ago, we sort of got a bit of an indication that they're going with a youth policy, almost a little bit like Adelaide. They've recruited a few from Hope Valley. Their youth policy obviously is sort of where they're sort of heading, and they'll reap the rewards of that in a few years' time.
Round 13, Pete. We'll go into this week's games. Paynham versus Somerton.
Somerton for me.
Somerton for me. Woodville versus Port Noarlunga.
Port Noarlunga for me.
Port Noarlunga for me. Modbury versus Millswood.
Millswood for me.
Millswood for me. Henley versus Toorak.
I think this will be a lot closer than we think, but Henley for me.
Henley for me. And Marion versus Tranmere, probably the game of the round, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd be pretty close to it. Or the Modbury Millswood could be very interesting as well. Or Marion and Tranmere. I'm going to go Marion.
Marion for me.
Yep.
So quickly running through the ladder, Pete. Marion 12 and zip. Noarlunga 10 and 2. Somerton 8-3-1. Millswood 8 and 4. And that's the 4 that it won't change.
No, and
Tranmere 6 and 5. So...
I think Tranmere's a silly chance from outside, but I think the top 4 is pretty set. Bottom 2, bottom 3, can we see Paynham getting out of the relegation zone? Or
will
Woodville
go down, and so will Toorak, I think, at this stage.
That'll be the 2.
I can't see anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Premier League, Lockleys, obviously we know, well, they've had a couple of really good wins, so stranger things have happened. But Holdfast and Salisbury and Modbury are sort of in that little bit of a delicate zone, aren't they?
I've got to admit, at the beginning of the year, it looked like Salisbury to me, but they've been they're bowling their outstanding season, really.
Yep.
At this stage, it could be Holdy, couldn't it?
That would be really interesting, and to see what happens next, obviously with Holdfast if they do lose their colour, but. There's some good players that would like to play there. Absolutely. All right, mate. Let's get into everybody's favourite time of the week. Let me just bring up, obviously, the round the regions, mate.
Here
Sorry,
we go.
A bit slack on the graphics tonight. Go for it, mate.
We've got 2 rounds quickly, so I'll just run through them, Peter.
Yep.
Won't.
Well,
go
before we start that, the Country Carnival's obviously coming to the city this week.
Yes.
If you do want to go and see some quality bowls, it is going to be quite warm, so plenty of water you need to take with you. But there are a lot of venues obviously hosting over the next 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, just get on the website, on the Bowls SA website, and it shows you everybody who's playing at whatever venue.
All right, mate, fire away. The floor is yours.
Round 16 it is, Pete. They played last week, obviously, like the last week when we had the weekend off.
Yes.
Yadunda 90 versus Kapunda 93. So a good win there to Kapunda.
Yes, I think I did tip
You're right.
them.
I tipped.
Close.
I don't know who I tipped. I can't remember.
Yep.
I got the Alzheimer's. Turtle Curtis 19, Cat Green 32. Good win to Cat.
Yep.
Tanunda 103 versus Freeling 59. Who've had a long season out there at Freeling.
Yes.
Timmy Leish 25 to Alex Bryan 7. So good win to Timmy Leish. Lindock, another big win for them. 109 versus Mount Pleasant 63.
Yep.
Shane Marsland, my old mate Shane, 34 versus Chad Vivian 8. So it's a big win to you, Shane. Anguston played Nuri. And I think I did tip Anguston. It was at home.
Yes.
Anguston 80, Nuri 71. Ian Ellsworthy over Lockie Fuss 22 to Lockie 14.
Yes.
I won't go through that ladder and I won't go through who's playing. I'll just go straight on to which was last week's round.
Yep.
And saw a bit of this game. Me and Big Pete went out to Kapunda to watch this game. Pity we didn't see the end. We left it just at half time.
Yep.
Kapunda 77, Nuri 76. So it was a cracker game.
Absolutely.
Adrian Green 25 over Lockie Fuss 17 was not a big win, but that was the biggest winning rank. So I'd pick that one out. Yadunda 62 versus Lindock 69. So Turtle Curtis 14. Harry Sykes, he's having a very good year. His rank, I should say.
Yes.
21. Tanunda 65 versus Anguston 91. Brad Peck copping a David Jornay hiding,
Yes.
9 to 33.
Ouch.
And the last game was the bottom of the table battle. Freeling 77, Mount Pleasant 81. Alex Bryan again getting a toweling, 14 over David Cook 26. Which leaves us the ladder,
Was it Anguston, Lindock,
Yes.
Nuri, and Kapunda?
Kapunda and Tanunda are 9 and 8, and Kapunda 11 and 6. So I don't know whether it'll change too much there, Pete.
Yep.
Quickly running through this week's games, we've got Mount Pleasant playing Anguston.
Yep. Anguston for me.
Anguston for me. Lindock playing Freeling at Lindock.
Lindock for me.
Lindock for me. Nuri playing Yadunda.
Nuri for me.
Nuri for me after talking to the mayor.
I was just about to say the mayor was on. We have to tip him now.
And probably the match around this week. It could be. Kapunda beat Tanunda this week. I reckon that's it.
Yep.
Tanunda versus Kapunda. At Tanunda.
Kapunda.
Kapunda for me. Just quickly while I'm on the Barossa, we got Don's breakfast on the 2nd of March up at Nuri. It's breakfast and lunch and nibbles all included. We got Dave Hoysler Day at Lindock on the 16th of February. And Victor Harbour 2-day tournament down there, 3rd and 4th of March, which I'm playing in all of those. I'll let my wife know when I get home.
Good luck. We may not see Phil here next week, so we might have to put out applications for a new co-host. All right, mate, let's get into some hot shots.
That's it, and you pick your weight, really. You play it with a bit less and sit one of those bowls and stick around, or you could just hit it with a lot of weight and hope they fly out of the head.
He's lining up with some weight.
And
on the forehand.
Yeah, on the forehand.
And there
Brilliant.
it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Wowee.
I think that could be Sports Centre shot of the day.
There we go. Nathan Pedersen off to a flying start. We see a brilliant replay here. Bowl, then jack, and into the ditch. Take one shot.
Oh, how awesome is this game going to be?
mate. We're going to, because of time constraints tonight, we're going to leave the bowls tipping and talking about that. But we do need to remind everybody that if you are participating in the tipping, there are Friday night games, so you will need to get your tips in early. Usually the email, I think, goes out Friday morning or even Thursday night, I think, for the Friday night games. So definitely keep your eye on that. All right, let's head off to Stewie in the players' interview.
Players interview.
All right, and tonight on the 22nd End Players interview, we've got him, the mayor of Nuriootpa, Stewie Forbes, mate. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Big fan of the show, so it's lovely to be a part of it after so long.
At least we got one. One fan.
Well, 1.5, I reckon. I saw Pete today.
I reckon I'd be good.
Oop, we lost you
Yeah,
there.
I was going to say Pete might be giving me a run for my money.
Yep. Mate, like we do with most of the guests, we'd like to sort of ask you about where your bowls journey sort of started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, my bowls journey started in 1999, 2000 at the Newry Bowling Club. My primary school was next door, and my dad and older brother played. So a couple of times a week, rather than getting picked up by mum, I'd have to walk down and watch them practice for hours on end. And one day I decided to get involved, and it was pretty fun. And fast forward 25 years and still having a lot of fun with it.
What was your first club?
Newry was my first club, Nuriootpa in the Barossa. Then fast forward to 2010 and decided to take the plunge into Premier League and played for Marion for 4 years. And after a good stint there, went to Holdfast Bay for 7. And then after winning the Premier League title there and a bit of a family thing, I decided to choose to come back home again.
What's it like being the third best player in your family before Dad passed, obviously?
Look, that was just every other day of the week, really. So it was pretty lofty standard at the dinner table. So I always looked up to Adam and Dad, and that was the big motivator in coming home. When Dad passed away, I wanted to pay tribute to where he played for 30 years, and even in my time in town, Newry was always a spiritual home, and returned back and been very, very happy ever since.
Absolute character, old Chris. You know, the jokes he'd tell, and oh my God, what a character.
The jokes he'd laugh halfway through and completely stuff up.
I remember the night he left his bowls on the roof of his car and he drove off. They ended up down in the river there, in the Para. Oh, Chris.
I reckon that wasn't the only time he did it, but I think it was the only time they fell off halfway through.
Oh, God.
A few sherbets after the game there?
He wasn't a big drinker, Chris, was he?
Yeah, wasn't a big drinker, but get him into a couple of ports and he'd find it very difficult to say no to another. And that could be a recipe for disaster. So there's a few stories that I'll leave omitted and redacted, but I always like to laugh and really enjoyed his time at the club. Otherwise, he was more or less on tomato juice more often than not.
Anyway, back to you, Stuart. Keep going with your career that has blossomed to a state selection now. So lead us into some of the things you've won along the way. You've been pretty positive in the state, singles, etc., etc. So let us have it. Yeah,
it's been an interesting career. Only the one singles title at Newry, which culminated in winning the association and regional champion of champions. And then I've got three pairs titles at Newry.
Not with me.
No, unfortunately, we were the best team to never win a game.
Best pairs combination never to win a game at Newry.
There you go.
Yeah.
And in fact, I do recall getting towed by a couple bottom side guys with your overwhelming favourites.
Sorry, I butted in again. Keep going. Where you go.
Yeah, so got after last year, I had two titles with Adam, and I managed to capture a third with the great Roger Machos. And during my time at Marion, Adam and I were runners up in the pairs final, lost by one shot. And thankfully, when I went over to Holdfast, Ashley Close and I teamed up a few years in a row. I think we got runner up once and won it twice. With we took it in turns skipping, so it looked pretty cool on the honour board to see the names flipped back to front. Sort of felt like you earned it in a completely new way. Going into state events, unfortunately haven't captured that maiden title yet, but a couple runners up in the state pairs, both one-shot losses on a sudden death end. First time to Brandon Wiley and Ben Johnson, and the second time to Craig Mills and Nathan Black. And then a few years ago, had a one-shot nail biter to Nathan Pedersen in the state singles final, and made a handful of semi-finals in the process. So still searching for the elusive title, but happy to have been around the mark a long time. And there's some cracking bowlers in town, or just around South Australia in general. So to know that your best can match it with those guys, and guys that you generally look up to and idolise a bit, sort of makes you feel pretty good about yourself.
Got to put yourself in those positions to have a fair crack at it. And it sounds like you're only really one win away, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's if you get to the start of those state events and go, how'd you like to be runner up by a shot? You'd take it every day of the week. It's only when you get to that point that it feels like a real gut shot. Because what seems like a pipe dream finally becomes a bit of a reality, and you go, geez, maybe I can be up in those hallowed holes with absolute legends of the game.
And then your obviously selection this year in the state side. Just go through that process, and obviously the trials, and obviously how it came about, and then getting up to Queensland there and participating.
Yeah, well, it's been I think it was 11 years since I last represented South Australia under 25 level. So, and now I'm 35 years old. I was starting to get to the point where I thought, if I don't crack it soon, there's a lot of really talented juniors in South Australia. Yep. It was looking quite realistic that I may have never, donned the state shirt again. So, incredibly blessed. And I think this past Champions Week probably signed the deal, like semi-final of the mixed pairs with Hanukkah Booth, semi-final of the state singles, quarter-final of the men's fours. It was a pretty good run going into those trials. And for once, I actually played to a pretty reasonable standard in the trials. And that's probably been my Achilles heel. Those trials are not measured the same as a normal game, because there's game plans in place, and sometimes drawing the shot isn't the shot that you were called to play, and so you do get sort of marked accordingly. And it's difficult to take what you've known for so long and try and apply it in a completely different method. But yeah, at long last, it sort of seemed to click. And probably the real sort of the surreal moment for me was when I found the news I was going to lead for Wayne Rudiger, and that's where Adam had led for 140 games for South Australia. I don't know the official number of games he played, but to basically slot into my own brother's footsteps and also be a part of Rudy's record-breaking game, that was absolutely surreal. We won the game off Rudy's bowls. We were the only rink up, and just to watch him put on a clinic to break Tumi's record, something I'll certainly cherish for the remainder of my career.
What was it like playing against some of the big names? Obviously, we see them when it comes BPL time and Australian Open finals time, and playing internationals. Players like Aaron Tees and Aaron Wilson, and just household names really in the bowls community.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many across all the states, and made good friends with quite a few of them over the course of that trip. Blake Nan from WA was one of the real standouts for me. He almost won the game against us off his own bowls in a game where, the four of us, being Ben Bowman and Brett Davis and Rudy, were all putting on a pretty good show. And to just see someone walk on water like that wasn't someone that you probably initially had on your radar, especially if they're a little bit unknown to you. But they're obviously selected in those positions for reasons, and not everyone in this game is a household name, even if they probably should be. So there are a few surprise packets that I certainly hadn't encountered before. But then, you play against the likes of Sean Baker, Aaron Sheriff, Ben Twist, Lee Schreiner, the Flappers, and Craig Mills and Dylan Fisher. Just absolute superstars of the game, and a few of the games didn't quite go the way we'd hoped, and but then the standard's so high in that competition, anything more than a 2 feels like you've almost won a grand final of sorts, because you can almost drape a mat over the head more often than not. So awesome to be a part of. Absolutely, still kind of pinching myself to feel that it actually happened.
Next week, I see S. Forbes in the Country Carnival. So
that was part of the reason we wanted to get you on today, mate.
Yeah, it's been 24 years since I last entered Country Carnival, and back then I drew a very young Andrew Hill from Berry, who was also the reigning state singles champion. So getting towed by him as an 11-year-old was a chastening experience, to say the least. But then we've been pretty much lifelong friends as a result. We've gone on, we played a few round robins together, played a few tournaments together. I've slept at his house and played some tourneys up in the Riverland and whatnot. And yeah, he's a great guy. And so that was something that I wanted to dabble back into again. And, it was only one day of the week off work, and they were trying to make me take some of my annual leave in the process. So it lined up well with round robin to follow.
Very good. Mate, obviously a few people will know how the format works, but you guys played a couple of events over the last month or two to help with selection as well. Is that right?
Yeah, we have round robin trials. So we have 3. So because our region Northeastern incorporates Broken Hill, they have a trial up there just so because there's a bit of a prerequisite to attend too. So that way that helps the Broken Hill guys not having to take a day's annual leave, book accommodation and travel 7 hours just to have a game. So I don't know how many of the Barossa and Riverland guys attended that one, but then we also had a trial at Nuri, which got moved to Kapunda due to the heat, and then a secondary one at Waikerie. And so you play in multiple positions, in pennant style format, and the selectors watch pretty intently to make sure that everyone gets a fair go in positions that they're likely to be playing. And there's always I think every region could say there's probably 3 or 4 guys that could walk into that team, and unfortunately, it is the luck of the day. If you perform in those occasions, you typically get the nod.
How many boys from Broken Hill? I know Gags. Is it Gags in the Sun? Is that it? Peter
Yeah,
Merritt coming down.
Yeah, Peter Merritt hung up the boots a couple of years ago. Okay. But Gags and his son Nathan got picked. Brad Lane and Ryan Atkinson got a gig as well. So the 4, I think it's 4. Could be a 5th that I've just lost at the moment. But they've certainly, I've played a few of those guys over the years. Very talented people, lovely guys to boot. Gags and I go way back to my under-18 days, so there's nothing short of a friendly jab between us here and there, and but it's all in good fun. And yeah, we all we're a pretty rowdy bunch in Region 4, so we all get behind each other and have some fun. And generally, the last few years, it's culminated in some pretty good results. Two runners up, and finally last year we took out the event in total.
Is it fair to say that this is one event on the Bowls SA calendar that you guys really, really look forward to as far as a region, but also when the country comes to the big smoke?
Yeah, absolutely. And now, particularly in the Barossa, 85% of the greens are synthetic, and you get blessed with a week on Marion's decks, which I think Steve Dennis is still looking after if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, mate, yep.
And yeah, they're just a treat. And even after playing 4 years at Marion, it still feels a little bit like home. So it's a familiar stomping ground for myself. But I can't deny the quality of the greens up there. So it is something that you look forward to. And Even with Country Carnival this year, I think I'm playing Colonel Light Gardens for the sectional, which I don't think I've ever played there before. So bit of a new experience there. And then depending on where the knockouts and whatnot go, you're always bound to set foot on a pretty tidy deck. So as good as synthetics can be, nothing compares to the beauty and majesty of grass.
Got to agree with you there.
Yep. Speaking of synthetics, mate, Nuri's put in a synthetic this year. We saw the progress reports, obviously, via Facebook and social media channels. What's the reaction been like in the area to it, and does it allow you to play, obviously, more winter bowls?
Well, that's the intention. And the beautiful part about it is, I finish work pretty late most nights of the week, so I come down 7:30, 8 o'clock, and just practice until I can't see, basically. So that was something, that was a luxury I couldn't really be afforded to me prior, unless it was during my time at Holdfast when I was also staying at Ashley Close's house. So though it was either a long drive or sacrificing playing when the grass starts to stand up when you're losing sunlight. And the great part about the synthetic is it doesn't lose its speed. In fact, our particular one at Nuri, the sweet spot's probably 8 o'clock at night, and it runs probably 16 seconds. Unless it's blowing a gale, which it often does down here, you get pretty significant turn on both hands. So that when you go on a good city deck is probably pretty accurate to what you can expect pace-wise and turn-wise, even if the physics don't always necessarily line up. But you sort of do what you can and adjust accordingly.
Very good. No, I had the pleasure of playing on it a few weeks back, and I found it quite nice, the new deck.
Yeah, no, it's still got a couple of little tricky spots. We had it stretched just before Christmas, and since then it's really taken off and bloomed. And I've certainly become a convert. I was hesitant because not knowing the company laying it down and what they'd done, and then I found out that it was actually the company that put down Paynham's new front green, and had the privilege of playing on that about a year ago, and even Andrew Smith said probably one of the best synthetics going around there too. So once we got it stretched, the quality was absolutely amazing. Just plays probably as good as you could ask for a synthetic. Gets a little bit tricky when it's hot, but name a synthetic that doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. All right, mate, we better wind things up. Mate, we'll go through a couple of questions like we do with all of our guests at the end. Should we ask him the tough one first?
You've got him there.
Mate, if anyone's to play you in a movie, who might it be?
It'd be a pretty budget film if it's about me. So I'd ideally like to say James Spader, but realistically probably Sean McAuliffe.
Nice. Love it. Mate, obviously, who's, the most underrated player at your club there at Nuri?
Underrated. I'd probably say Barry Smith. So those that probably played Premier League 10 years ago, he was skipping down at Westlakes, and he's only returned to the game after 5 years off, and you wouldn't think he's had half a decade away from the game. He's returned with absolute force, and his daughter Kate has also returned to the game after 8 years off. So I'd say the two of them have come in with an absolute storm, and they're still feel like they're getting off rust despite how good they're playing. So I feel like the sky's the limit. They could really take off next year with a good winter under their belts.
Is that the girl leading?
Yeah, Kate Blackfell now. She's married.
Yeah.
But so that's Barry's daughter. So
somebody told me she's about 30 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, we were in under 18s together. So I don't know her
15 years old.
Don't know her exact age.
She looks about 15.
Yeah, I don't know her exact age, and I've been told from people that it's rude to ask a woman's age in general. We were probably maybe 2, 3, 4 years apart. Probably more so the 4. She skipped. I think she skipped for SA before she stepped away from the game. So having someone with that experience and wealth of knowledge of the game return is absolutely awesome. She's really taken off absolutely brilliantly.
You got one up your sleeve too, as I broke on the show here 2 weeks ago, Stewie. Ashley Schultz.
Yeah, he's
He's going to be
returned
handy
as
in the
well.
back end of the season.
Yeah, so I think I don't know his nicknames yet. They're still to fill me in on those, but yeah, he came back, played a game. I think he had to miss last week due to something.
He did. Yeah.
First game back, 23 shots up, and he's will qualify for finals and hopefully play a very big role in our second side. And there's another one that with a good winter under his belt can have an absolute rip snort a year, in 2025-26.
Speaking of nicknames, mate, do you have a few that you've obviously played at a few different clubs? Did you have a few that have sort of passed over the times?
Yeah, so the famous one's Beak, because I got a big nose, and
Really?
then so no, you probably never noticed, but yeah, so that's the main one, and there's been a few derivatives of that over the years. So Dante, after the Pierce Brosnan film Dante's Peak, Mozam, which is probably my favourite, that was either Max Kleinig or Ashley Close doing that one. And for a long time, people just call me Stutang, which has been a childhood nickname from about 3-4 years old, thanks to brothers that really like rap music.
Love it, mate. Who's your biggest rival up there in Region 4, isn't it?
Yeah, Region 4. So in the Barossa Association, it'll be Anguston. They've been the arch rivals for a long time. Tanunda are the spiritual rival because of all the sports and codes in the Barossa Valley. It's always been Nuri and Tanunda. Probably when it comes to Region 4 and round robin, I'd say York Peninsula, I think that's Region 2. They're always an incredibly strong team, and I think they probably like shutting us up as well. But yeah, an absolutely talented region over there in New York. So that game at round robin time is always a battle and a half.
Absolutely. Mate, who brings the most energy to your team? No matter what the situation is, they're always up and about.
Outside of myself, I'd have to say Lockie Fuss. In fact, he's probably he's very vocal and passionate. Typically leads the charge these days with the voice. So I've sort of taken a little bit of a back seat. But when usually to try and just get myself established in the game, and then once you're in a good bit of rhythm, you can sort of unwind a bit and get the larynx going.
Love it. Any little sledges in there?
Oh, yeah, probably nothing I can repeat on the pod, but yeah,
no, that's fine.
Been known to say a few over the years. I reckon you could ask a handful of people. Isaac Trinorden once famously said the only two people I'll never sledge in Premier League is Stewie Forbes and Ash Close. Closey for he'll get you with one line, and with me, especially back then, I'd probably just nip at you all day long.
Yep.
I like to think I've calmed down a little bit now.
I love it, mate. Two-pronged question here, mate. Your favourite away club to play at, and then we'll say in SA, and then we'll say in Australia, because you have obviously spent some time travelling and playing, especially up in Queensland, the Australian Open. I've been up there a couple of times watching you play. But, yeah, is there any other clubs in Australia that might fit that billing? But anywhere in SA that has always been a favourite away club to play at?
Yeah, I'd probably there's a couple there. I'd probably say Adelaide. I've always enjoyed Adelaide's decks. I've played there a lot through the Adelaide Masters and whatnot, so that's always been a nice place to play. And Ascot Park, because Ascot always put on a pretty good green. Nigel and the boys worked tirelessly down there and had some absolutely cracking matches there, and was fortunate to have a pretty good Champions Week run as well. So over the years, they've been two places where I've enjoyed playing quite a lot.
Absolutely, can't disagree.
What
about Australia-wide? Yeah.
Australia-wide, I'd probably have to say Mermaid Beach. Last Australian Open I went to, I actually played a warm-up singles game and a pairs tournament there. The day I flew in, I think we got 70 mil, and two of their greens still ran 16 seconds the next day, and you wouldn't have thought they got that much downpour the previous day. So Mermaid, absolutely. And probably Musgrave Hill as well. That's a pretty good one. But I'd give Mermaid the nod over Musgrave in terms of green speed.
Haven't played at Mermaid, but I have played at Musgrave, and yeah, they do run very, very well there. You just you've got to avoid the big breeze, but once you sort of work it out, it actually works pretty well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably one that most people wouldn't say because it's synthetic, but I had the privilege of playing at Merimbula, and easily whilst it's a pretty good synthetic, by far the greatest view of any bowling club in the country. You get I think it's the Snowy Mountains on one side, and then the Sapphire Coast right where the tree line ends, just overlooking the town. It's absolutely astounding.
Bowler's paradise. If you're going to go there. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, mate, we'll get you out of here on this one last question. You're all square on the boards, across the boards, in a grand final. You got anybody that can play that final bowl for you? Who would it be?
Within my own club or just in general?
Let's do both.
Within my own club, I'd say the legend Rob Gropey. And if I could pick any bowler in history, I'd probably say Mark Casey. He's been my hero since day one, so I'd give Case the nod there.
Absolutely fantastic. Couple of nice little nominations there. Mate, the Mayor of Nuri, we've got you on. Sure. We've been talking about it for a few weeks. Obviously, the Country Carnival's coming up this week down in the city here, and we wish you the best of luck, and we'll try and get around to some of those games during the week there.
Not much appreciated. Appreciate your time, and hopefully we didn't go quite the 40 minutes like most pundits were probably expecting to.
No, mate, we've kept it under 30. We've done pretty well.
I reckon that's a mercy for most people's ears. So, appreciate it. Love what you guys do and what you guys bring to the game of bowls. So, looking forward to bigger and brighter things from the podcast in the future.
Thank you, mate. And just one thing before you go, you were involved with the On the Green radio show back a few years ago. Just obviously give us a little bit of insight into that and how that all started up, because you seem to be involved a fair bit.
Yeah, so basically, Lachlan Wilson, who's probably a name that hasn't been in the bowls fraternity for quite a while, was spearheading that with Sandy and Bruce Wallace on Coast FM. And one week, Sandy and Bruce couldn't actually attend. So I was still at Marion at the time, and Lockie actually approached myself and Dave Stockham to come in for a week. And we had a pretty good time of it. And they actually asked me to come on a couple more times, and eventually I turned into just a regular panelist whenever I wasn't too hungover to make the show. So there were enough, I dare say, those that remember those days, there were a few times where I sounded a little bit scratchy, like I'd had a packet of Winfield Reds before I'd walked into the show. But they were pretty good times. I think any exposure to the game of bowls is good. That was a pretty interesting format, and a time where radio was more or less the only way of really advertising the game. So it was cool to hear the game of bowls on the radio, and you could also, I think it was Ian Johnson or Buddha. One of them put it on the old Bowls blog website, so you could run it back and listen if you missed the show. And quite often people would send me texts going, we're on our way to Semaphore to play state pairs. Can you give us a shout out? So we'd have a bit of fun with it. But that were great days. Unfortunately, the radio station made a decision to can the show, but I think it lives in the memories of a few.
Absolutely. Well, mate, it's been a little bit of a hobby or project of mine for the last couple of years to try and get this up and going. We're fumbling our way through it a little bit at times, but no, it's all on the guests that we have and some of the results that we like to just talk about, and just really talk bowls, and we want to try and get out to some games and record them as well. So, mate, we thank you for being involved, and as we said, good luck for the Country Carnival and also for the remainder of the season. Mate, we might even touch base with you come finals time up there.
Hopefully we can. We've dropped the last two games by a couple shy margins, so fingers crossed we can rectify that ship and be very prevalent in the postseason. So it's a probably the most even season in the Barossa in maybe the last decade. So hopefully the Tigers can turn it around, which I've got all the confidence we will, and we can set up a post game celebration maybe.
Love it. We'll be there.
I'll be up for the celebration.
You love
the
it.
old shoeies.
Yeah, the old shoey.
The Stewie Shoey. There you go. We've coined it. Mate,
Oh.
thank you very much for your time. And as we said, best of luck.
No, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Stu.
Good one.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe.
And we thank Stewie, obviously, for his time tonight, not only talking a little bit about his bowls journey, but obviously the Country Carnival coming up and some exciting things happening at Nuri over the next short little period, and we wish him the best of luck for the finals. All right, mate, let's get into the extra ends tonight. Let's start off with tournaments, mate. Modbury Colours on the Green, Ladies Gala Day.
Yeah, 17th of February, $120 per team, 9:30 for a 10 a.m. start. Streaky Bay, Cosmo Pairs, Skins, Sunday, February the 16th, 9 for 9:30, $70 per team.
That's going to be an interesting one to see whether they might reschedule that event, because I think some of the state pairs, which we have on the running list, has been changed because obviously the hot weather policy the other week. So we might just keep you abreast of what's happening there. You obviously mentioned some tournaments there before the break as well. All right, let's move on to BPL Cup. We don't have any new venues to report at the moment, but over the next couple of weeks, I reckon there'll be a few clubs that will jump on that. They're just trying to obviously get their season sort of all squared away for the finals and everything else before they look at what's happening afterwards. But the BPL, the Adelaide Pioneers will be back in action this time at Moama for the 21st edition of the BPL on the 17th to the 21st of Feb.
Yep, looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On KO every night.
Yep.
We've sort of been starved of sport at the moment.
the
We had the
BPL's
cricket on.
finished,
Then the BBL has finished. The cricket's obviously finished. The tennis is finished.
Yep.
There's sort of a little bit of a lull here,
There is.
apart from the cricket over in
Had to watch a
Sri
couple
Lanka.
movies with the wife at the moment. So
You're getting those brownie points up for those tournaments you're playing.
Yeah, well, good for
Fair
it.
enough. Adelaide will obviously be represented once again by Scotty Tholburn and Wayne Rudiker, with Caitlin Inch coming back into the team as well. All right. National events. First time in 12 months, a Trans-Tasman Clash will be held 31st of January to the 2nd of Feb. This will be streamed live on YouTube.
There you go. Very good.
Australia won the event 4-1 last time. Can they repeat the dose?
Well, who knows?
Exactly.
We'll wait and see, won't we?
Obviously, Nathan Black representing South Australia in that as well. A couple of things on the national stage. The Platinum Pennant teams have announced a few of their players for the coming season, and Mount Lewis have secured Scotty Tholburn once again, but Nathan Black putting his hand up.
Oh, okay. There you go. SA play. Yeah, very good. Good on them.
Absolutely, well done to those guys there. Blackie obviously representing the Mount Lewis Sydney Lions, obviously in the BPL, and
right, yep.
obviously winning the
Good for you.
MVP. So the natural transition is
shoo-in.
there. Joining obviously Tyson Wilson, which he's pretty good mates with as well. All right, mate, let's move on to some general questions and topics to finish us off. We've really condensed today's episode. But
Running through it.
could power plays be introduced to pennants, or is this just a BPL thing?
I would like to use a couple today,
But
I
this is
reckon.
this is why I throw it in, is that if one team could have one every game, do you think it's a good
Yeah.
innovation?
Don't know. I don't know whether it will.
How do you feel about it?
I'd probably prefer not to, but I wouldn't mind using one occasionally, that's all.
No, I thought I'd just throw that one in there as a
I'd
bit of
probably like it as it is. I'm
Yep.
probably a bit old-fashioned, but...
Would you like to see more tournaments use it in their formats?
Yeah, tournaments would be all right. I think it's probably where you want to trial it, is in
Yep.
a tournament.
Yep. I know the
See how it
BPL
goes.
format is about that short,
Yeah,
fast,
yeah, yep.
giving that opportunity, I suppose, to pick up a score if you absolutely need to, and hang on to a power play until the last minute if you
Yep.
can, or use it early if you're
Yeah,
on.
that's right.
But pennants may be a little bit of a stretch, but maybe a couple of tournaments might want to throw it in
Yeah,
there as
that'd
a
be
little
alright.
bit of a wild
Yeah.
card type deal, or even pre-selected on the cards before the game starts, as that is their end
yeah.
of their power play. That could be a way of just making it a little more exciting as well.
Me being skipper, I'd forget about it. That'd be the end of it. When you're using what power play?
Yep. Highlighted and extra stars on there for Phil. The national rankings obviously released, and Nathan Black and Karen Gatto are SA's currently highest ranked players.
Okay.
It is reasonably early in the season.
Blackie, how high is he, roughly?
He's
just gives a
in
figure.
the 15s or 20s, I
Okay.
think. And
Karen?
Karen's around about 35, 36, just off the top of my head there.
Oh, that's right.
It is reasonably early days with some of those events, but obviously
You got to play
guys getting a
state events and all that.
state events and also tournaments that obviously have
points and
BA ranking points as well. So congratulations to those guys.
Very
And
good.
We'll keep a bit of an eye on it now that the rankings are starting to flow through. Now that tournaments are being played, mate. I think we've done pretty well to squeeze as much in as we possibly can.
We've lost Pete about 15 minutes ago. You realise that? Peter
Then we can
Kittens.
say
We call him Kittens too. That's his the nickname.
Yep.
So he pinned that one on me, Kittens. So,
yes. All right. We'll have to.
We lost him 15 minutes ago.
Well, then we can say anything we want.
Yeah,
it
it
really
doesn't matter. He's not listening anyhow.
Mate, no, we thank our listeners, obviously, for tuning in. Thank you for bearing with us on this reasonably quick episode. And obviously missing last week because of the public holiday weekend.
Yep.
But as per usual, mate, we've got to do better than this.
Got to.
We thank Stewie Forbes for his time there.
Thanks, Stewie.
And looking forward to a couple of little innovations over the next 2 or 3 weeks, not only with the podcast, but with some of the Friday night games. We're going to try and mic somebody up. We'll see how we go with that anyway.
No worries. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, mate. We'll see you all next week.